is this running back class going to be stacked? Welcome into the draft profile video for Kaleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Johnson is coming off an absolutely historic run for the Iowa Hawkeyes. 23 touchdowns, 1,725 yards, and the first running back for Iowa to score a touchdown in all 12 regular season games. And look, I'll be honest, I did not watch a ton of Iowa games this regular season, so I really didn't know what to expect when I put on the game film and I really started scouting him. And from the first snap, I was immediately sold on the fact that this dude was gonna be an NFL running back. I mean, he just has the size, speed, his burst at the line is really, really impressive. All the things that you want just right off the bat, you got it. We're sold that he's gonna be in the conversation. Now it was just about, okay, what do we like? What do we dislike? How far up the board are we going to move him? And we'll get to exactly how far up the board I think he's going to land. I have not watched every running back, so it's really early for me to compare it to the rest of the class. But man, if this guy isn't a second-round pick, I'd be shocked. Let's go ahead and get into the skill chart for you guys. All right, and when we look at Kaleb Johnson, we have to talk about his contact balance and his burst. These are two of his top traits for me on my grading scale. These are elite traits for me. And by the way, burst, it is comparable to the type of player you are. This dude is 6 foot 225. He is a tank, big guy. So his ability to explode in one step is very, very impressive to me. That's why I gave him the grade I did. And then contact balance, obviously, he just absolutely bounces off of tacklers, would-be tacklers left and right. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my first clip for you guys just to give a good example of what I'm talking about here for you. All right, and this is going to be one of the rare pass-catching situations for him. Kaleb Johnson, not used much in the passing game at Iowa, but this is one example where, first of all, I will say I'm not worried about it by any means. Let's go back and just see how effortlessly he catches the ball behind him here and then brings it down, immediately turns into a runner. One tackler. That was a rough attempt at a tackle. He's going to break that every time. Guy wraps him up. Granted, this is a Nebraska defender. Nope. Skirt. And then right here is where I would say love to see him be able to break away from 42 here. Doesn't quite have the Jets. He doesn't have that third gear. Has a first and second gear that I'm incredibly impressed by almost every play, but that third gear not quite the same. Looking at it again, man, I was just so impressed. I thought this was just a great example of him bouncing off tacklers, always staying square, good contact balance, isn't easily brought down by any means. Don't know what these defenders are doing here. That's just silly. You're making guys look silly, but you should. If you're going to be a future NFL star, you should be making Nebraska defenders look absolutely silly, and that is what he did. And this clip here, I think, does a really good job of showing that initial explosiveness through the hole. Right here, see him kind of quickly, it's wide open. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You could drive a truck through that, but that's not really the point. So we're not really looking at vision here. Wide open hole, but we do have a Ohio State linebacker who is going to meet him, and he just doesn't square him up right. You got to get a clean shot. And to be fair, an NFL linebacker hopefully wouldn't take that kind of angle of a tackle, but great stuff from Kaleb Johnson. This is what I love. This to me is what makes him a top tier running back prospect in this class. Just explosive, bounce off tacklers, and then this right here is where it's like, okay, I'd like you to have a little bit more of an idea of what you want to do. I'd like you to have a little bit more of a plan in spots like this. Again, not the end of the world. Again, I always like to show the good with the bad, kind of give you the full story of who he is. He's a downhill runner. He is explosive. I love his initial burst once he gets the ball. I'm a big fan of that, and I don't think it's going to be talked about enough. When I just look at, get ball, explode through the hole. That is like consistently the story we're seeing. And at his size, his ability to get to his top speed pretty quickly is awesome. I'd love there to be a little bit more variation in his speed sometimes, but that's something I do think he can work at the next level. And it's something that could even bring his game to an even higher level. Got a little bit of wiggle. It's nothing special. He doesn't overly use that by any means, but he's got enough wiggle to make it work. Here's a good example of that. All right, here we're going to see a nice little outside zone run. See him make some defenders miss, stays on his feet, explosive, Nice little agility there. I think I got another angle here for you guys. Another touchdown run. Look, I like showing the highlights, but I like showing the highlights that kind of show just special ability, right? And for a guy of his size, a guy who is primarily going to be the downhill, thumper type of a guy as far as the way he plays, he has enough wiggle to do all the things we need, right? Outside, let's go backwards to go forwards. We're going to make a corner look absolutely silly. And then from there, it's just, are you fast enough to catch me? And those guys certainly were not. But man, just, again, contact, balance, love it. Absolutely love it. The balance there is impressive. But all right, guys, to close things out, I do want to just talk about where I expect him to go in the draft. I do think he is in that early second to mid-second range. I really think he is an elite running back prospect from that perspective. I think that's where a lot of those types of guys go. I mean, we're talking about where Jonathan Taylor went. We're talking about where Nick Chubb went. I'm viewing him in that kind of range. It's tough this year, though, because this is a loaded running back class. Absolutely loaded. Now, who will get drafted early, who will get drafted late? Will it mean that all of these great players go just in the later second and third round because there's so many of them? I think it's kind of a flavor of the week type of thing as far as what teams are going to like, what teams are looking for. There's definitely going to be a team that is looking for Kaleb Johnson as a possible feature back role, all right? I do think that that's where we're at, and he should be. As far as exactly which team I'd love to see him at, I don't know. I don't have like a specific spot in mind, and sometimes I do for these videos, sometimes I don't. I really try not to force it. I think he's a guy, you give him 15 carries a game. All the teams that are going to need running back are going to be in the conversation. Cowboys, I would imagine, like, I just kind of expect the Cowboys to get a good Gentis for some reason, so that's just where my head's at. But obviously Cowboys could easily grab him. I think Texans make a lot of sense. I think really, again, the Browns, if they want to go that route, any team that needs a feature back, I really believe that's what we're talking about with Kaleb Johnson. Really excited to see how his career looks in the NFL. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.